poems I'd like to share with you, a total of 31 lines. And we're going to take a little triptych. We're going to land in Boston, Massachusetts, and then we're going to go south to the Maryland shore, and then we're going to go north to Maine. Orange memories from the coast of Massachusetts. Not the orange-draped Hare Krishnas who greet me at the bottom of the escalator at Logan Airport. Not the pyramid of navel oranges in the marketplace at Faneuil Hall. Nor the rose my mother placed on my father's blue uniform before she closed his casket. Not the fire that gutted the Devons Elementary School. Nor the velvet curtain that wore to dingy brown when drawn into the wings of the Park Theater. But the orange shards of that breaking morning clattering to the bottom of the sky out Boston Harbor. Sunday memories from the Maryland shore at Scientist Cliffs. Always Sunday at Annie's. No sign says be here on the dot. Each meal exquisites her best plate. Cheerfulness like the sun turns every angle. Outside the sunroom, the ravine carries a slender stream to the bay. Trees fill, fall, and fill again like answered prayers. Everyone reads the paper to keep up. It's reported that Monday never comes. August memories from the coast of Maine. Charlie's, Booth Bay Island, dock, store, and boat repair. Her teen chandelier laughter in the adjacent aisle. Her hair breaking in a French twist, falling out in wonderful mayhem behind her smile. We exchange glances, nods, first words, lose and find our way past midnight. Last warm night spoon naked under our shed clothes. Last day Islander hotel brunch, we eat gardenia and primrose blossoms. Where did she go? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Richard Lohr, and I've recently begun writing poetry again, and I have two pieces for you. This poem, the first poem, titled We Slipped Pink Steaks. This poem begins with a few lines from a poem by Tara Shea Burke entitled Fall, which appeared in her chapbook, Let the Body Beg. We slipped pink steaks between our wine-stained cuspids one night, chewing and chatting in the silk night darkness about the use of silver forks and chopsticks. You said it depended on what you want to eat, and then your short lips curled wide, and you staked out a sweet claim for the naked tongue. You said Count most on this moist and tumbling taster to sense the savory from the sour, to ease and enter tenderly the body and open up the mind. In making love or making words, the tongue quivers, sending waves of feeling and pulsing sense, more so than dirt-stained fingers or their ornamented tools. And oh, the teeth, the neighbors of the tongue. They can crush the blood from meat or nibble merrily on hot green garden peas, are resting in their power. The next one I'd like to read to you is called Carried by Whales. Remember salt blue-green water churning cold, rough, hot hides beneath our feet, rising high before the dive. Standing on the dorsal ridge, your hands hug the supple fluke. In our descent, your desperate squeals, our frightened, trembling bodies splayed across the fin, the whales, their moaning songs, pleas for life to start or end. Whales diving like sinking ships, like knives through sodden bread. Their bodies cleave the ocean into surging, twisting chasms into storms of froth. In the melee of the water, in the splitting frenzy of the loudest shaking sounds, I lost my grip. We fell and sinking fell too deep below, following the paths of whales beyond our will. Our sleek bodies descended until resting spent on sparse sea-green grass. In those dark depths, you played and sang, summoning more whales. I held my breath against the water's weight, fearing I would drown.
Thank you, Richard. Welcome you again, more recent arrivals, to the open reading for this month's third Thursday poetry series. I'm going to ask Jonathan Katz to come up here and share a poem or two with us, and I'll be visiting so that you can sign up and to share a poem if you'd like.
Thank you. These two poems, and in a mood of political instability, I think is why I chose these. And this first one, there are a few poems that I wrote where the title of the poem is a word that has several meanings. And I try to write the poem and not mention the word in the poem, but touch upon all those meanings. So this first one is called Visitor. Visitor. When my dad counted father, American, Jew on his fingers, I didn't realize that he was listing the things he was willing to die for. I made that connection later when he poo-pooed the problem of captives deciding which family member to sacrifice in purchase of the other's freedom. I've already had a life, he said, and added, it could happen in this place too. Here's a history lesson. We're just passing through. People want to be rooted. Our people tried, and the ones who considered themselves German died. Pray for prosperity. You won't be blamed for that. For all the times I called on federal agencies or went to meetings in government offices, this title word appeared in sans serif capital letters on tags I wore, reminding everyone those who work here are the law, and they like that. These former school crossing guards, form filers, some servant leaders, yes, and all bureaucrats. They wear a different badge than the supplicants and do-gooders looking for help and wondering where the restrooms are. Pull the focus high above the nation's capital, and you can see the waves of immigrants beating at the shores, cleansing the coasts, then the inlands and tides of their blood, tilling and seeding the fertile valleys, making orchards big with apples, cherries, citrus fruit. That same flow that cleanses his country periodically ran across the Bering Strait, across the big seas, swells northward over rivers and scrublands, desert, and every terrain that scavengers rule, runs in the veins of my sister and me. There is no escaping the passages through which we all had to go. Ideas, we're part of this flow, and it's within us also, leading to and away from the heart. That is more than a metaphor. When hits, hurts, abrasions, and cuts of these travels sink into, go below, or show on the skin, things thicken, bond, scab over violence ingrained. Everyone's always surprised and repulsed by what healing looks like, how long incomplete, and how messy. My dad said, you cannot predict when transition needs transit. Keep a bag packed. Try to make decisions while you're able. Love means you know how to stay in touch during your journey. That was Visitor. This one's called Journeyman, and we see how much comfort poems provide people in times of pressure and stress and disappointment. And this poem is just a reminder that poetry is supposed to do other things besides provide comfort. It's called Journeyman. Poetry is, after all, that craft of the journeyman who shows up and does one task today, another tomorrow, who plants the flag atop the hill under fire from the evil adversary, who submerges and sprays torpedoes in all directions, who takes one drink too many and maims innocent civilians, who surprises everyone by sending the family home and boasting the bright red headband of the enemy, pilots like a flaming pie the plane of some didactic protest into the window-eyed face of the skyscraper, who ultimately betrays every constituency, kisses your daughter farewell inappropriately, and moves on, whom you remember times you liked, times you didn't. Trouble is, some damn thing always needs fixing. Fixing like you fix a faucet, fixing like you fix a dog. This journeyman keeps a journal with your real name in it, next to the pet ones you like to be called. That's what this journeyman does, after all.
Great pleasure to introduce our former poet laureate and great mentor to me, Ann Becker.
Well, we couldn't schedule this to coincide with the terrible shooting at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, but I think it's really good that poets can come together and talk to each other as we do at this time. And it's too bad that it was scheduled for today, and now there's the vigil at the gazebo. Because I know that there are poets there whose voices it would be good for us to hear, and would be good for them to hear what we are saying. But maybe we can get over there before it's all over. And the other thing, I mean, I think there's been something different about this terrible gun violence than we've had before. We had the shooting in the Sikh temple. We had the shooting of the children at Newtown Elementary School, and many, many others. And yet, it seems to me that this time, that there is a different coming together than there had been before. On Wednesday, I went downtown, and I walked from the metro at U Street Cardoza down to Logan Circle, and in the neighborhoods, in front of people's houses, along 14th Street, the businesses all had the gay pride flag or bunting out, down to, and at DuPont Circle, down to the CVS had bunting out. And so I hope that, and now there's legislation before Congress to actually pass some laws limiting gun sales. It seems it's pretty narrow, but in the same time, any limiting which has not been popular before, or seems to be they're coming to some kind of consensus. And so I'm going to read a poem that I've actually never read in public before, and I'm dedicating it to the mothers of their children who died, and also the mothers whose children survived the shooting at Pulse nightclub. And this is called Written with a Red Pencil. I'll tell you about motherhood. Our children throw us over when there's no more milk, no more money, when we're no more nipple and vagina, no more than crumpled tissue, torturous gut filled with gas, sucked dry. That's right. Let's blame the victim. What chance did we ever have when they came for us, our flesh already open and needy, eyes on the comfortable future? They thought, it'll get easier. One day they'll be gone. Flames, crinkling coals, mere ember, red-black, comforting smell of smoke, sharp and pungent, wafting from papery ash. And this poem I wrote not too long after my husband died. He was sick for quite a long time. There were many, many trips to the emergency room. And I really felt like after he finally died that I was really suffering from PTSD. And I came to write this poem. And this one is a poem written on a paper bag. It's so quiet in the apartment, apart from the chum of the toaster oven, the crim of the refrigerator, which I only hear now as I'm listening to the quiet and smell the odor of yeast and flour risen. Each time I open the brown paper bag, it might be bread, it might be donuts, with only a little corner of the cutting board to slice the challah, braided and golden, with my husband's old knife, thin and stained, but best for cutting into the soft flesh of bread. Not a surgeon's knife, not that of a butcher, but one of sacrifice, the atonement I have to make to the kitchen god to appease her wrath at the wreckage of the dishes I've let defile her sacred bath and let pile up on the sliver of countertop where I might work, all the silverware dirty so I cannot cook, and bring in meals of strangers to eat with plastic utensils, the harvest of summer unused. And then recently, I've sort of been on this interesting journey through poetry that started with reading the poet Paul Celan, who was Jewish, and during World War II, his parents were killed in a concentration camp, and he was in a slave labor camp but managed to escape. But he wrote in German, and for him, he really had to find a different way to use German. Also, there was a writer who said, "How can we write poetry after the Holocaust?" And Celan's answer was, "How can we write anything but poetry after the Holocaust?" And so it was really wonderful. There, one of the stories they had in the Post was about a woman who was a survivor of the nightclub massacre, and she said she had to write a poem, that partly to deal with her survivor's guilt. But anyway, I went from there, and then I went to Emily Dickinson, and along the way, some of the reading I did, Adrienne Rich was brought up. And, Adrienne Rich did a tremendous thing at the end, well, from the middle to the end and the beginning of, end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st, by giving voice to women, especially who she felt had no voice up until this time. But, the thing that I thought of when I thought about that was, yes, I am a poet of the body, and we do speak, and it's good to speak, and I love language, but at the same time, our bodies really speak, and it's different from, what they call body language. It's something different than that. It's, and so it was also wonderful to see the photographs of the people who were killed, because their faces spoke. Sometimes you could see their shoulders or, more of their body, their hands. And to me, without words, even though they're gone, these images of their bodies will continue to speak. And so that's how I came to write this poem. And it's called, "If We Listen, We Speak." But if we look at ourselves, our self also, we see hunch of shoulder, long curve of arm draped over coarse fabric, foot standing at ease, the body seated, calloused pads and toes spread, and we read her set of the head. A woman, hard-working, tired, not yet through worrying the actions of the day. The many times she snipped scraps of paper, of packaging up from the slick floor, rough carpet, listened to all people walking through a room, flow and halt of words around her. Replies when alcove of silence opens beside her lips, between metal clank of big machines, the cut-press print, cough and sigh, a vacuum taking back air. She speaks, gush of water in the sink, undulations of pipe, clang, her scritch, fingers at her hairline, nails scritch whitened skin between follicles, potato eaters, drumstick, one-man band, spilling the beans. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I always forget to say who I am. My name is Mary Beth Hayden, and I'm going to share 3 poems with you. I want to pick up on 3 aspects of this month. Father's Day, the basketball finals, and then I want to return to the recent events in Orlando. Weightless with Dad. Swan Creek is where I learned to float, safe in Dad's hairy arms, trusting him completely, leaning my head so gently back, breaking the surface. Gently, one shoulder, now 2, recline in the ice-cold pool. Some instants later, I begin to believe in weightlessness. Learn now to tilt my head. Where are they? The big kids, are they even in the pool? Basketball. Do you like basketball? I like basketball. We shot baskets at my house till it was so dark the rebound you fought for might thud off the top of your head, or maybe a pass would find a nose. And that was it. You cannot play with just headlights flashing by. But listen, a basketball floating in the creek is just wrong. It's not just the floating. A basketball lazing under a tree would also be wrong. No tree shows up at the gym, unless in that way tree parts. I'm thinking now of the wooden bench where Coach sits. But that's my point exactly. Trees know their place. They chip in, they do branch out, but only in their own way. Winter, spring, summer, fall, they don't ask much. Light or dark, rain or not, it's all good. Trees will not wander off. You won't catch a tree thinking, there must be a game. There must be a game somewhere. So the events in Orlando, I don't think I've ever had such a strong feeling that, oh my gosh, I want to write a poem about this. I think it was partly because I learned about the shooting and where it had occurred in church when my group, the Jubilee Singers, was about to sing. And the feeling of singing with the tears running down my face and looking at the faces that we were singing to as we sang Tragedies Are Commonplace, and we sang Thank You for the Love, Thank You for the Power, Thank You for Protection over and over again. It just blew me away how extraordinarily powerful art can be, music can be, sharing can be. And I wanted some comfort for myself. I wanted the spiritual renewal of writing about something when I knew that on the other side of it I was going to feel better. Charles Simic tells us that poetry is a defense of the individual against all of the forces arrayed against him. And then I was thinking, too, about the impact of the poem, not just the energy, the spiritual renewal that I would have in writing about this. I was thinking about the impact of poems on me. I like what Jory Graham says about a certain kind of poem. Poetry wants to be contagious, to be a contagion. It's different from being persuasive, making an argument. That's why great poems have so few arguments in them. And I read this by Richard Wilbur. A poem can subtly change us. A contagious sensibility can dispose us to live or think in one way or another. So, my humble poem after the grand introduction. What We Need, a meditation on the mass shooting in Orlando. Bang, 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 bang. Cue sirens, cue screams, cue shouts. Bang, 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 bang. Cue wails, cue gasps, cue fear. Bang, bang, bang. Rouse firemen, police, rouse nurses, rouse doctors. We need more surgeons, more blood, a makeshift morgue, more transport, more techs. Another ER, we need dispatch and counselors. We need helmets and vests. Bang, bang. We need chaplains and rabbis. We need prayers. We need chants. Love. We need love. A love that's loud, a love that insists, love high-powered, love that takes risks, love at its stations, love that responds. We need the highest dose, a love that stretches, a love that speaks out, a love that repeats. Were we to pick up the phone, dial 911, we'd say, hate, you are outmatched, fear, you are outflanked. Our velocity is fierce in the knowledge that we are one. Love, yes, we need love. We are armed. Cue love. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. I think we have refreshments, and perhaps we even still have another event continuing at the gazebo. Another opportunity to process this horrible tragedy. Thank you so much for being here. I think it means a lot to each and every one of us to see the folks that are in these seats. Thank you.